Assalamu'alaykum Ummahpreneurs, and welcome to another video on our channel. Today I want to talk to you about something that I hold very dear to my heart, and that is the topic of failure. And really hand in hand with that topic is the topic of fear. So fear and failure, and the fear of failure, and all of those things jumbled together, and how they affect our lives, and the way that we should look at and perceive failure and process it when we experience it in our lives and in our business. So let's get started. I'm going to talk about this right now and really share with you some of these strategies and perspectives and mindset shifts that I've gone through in my personal life and in my business that have allowed me to overcome failure at every single step. Let's dive right in. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All right, guys, so I want to start this video by sharing a very beautiful quote. And this quote was actually brought to my attention. I won't take credit for it. It's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt. And it was brought to my attention by a TEDx talk that I watched of an author called Brené Brown. And I believe she has a book on this topic, on failure, on the fear of failure, on courage. And I can't remember the name exactly. I didn't read the book, to be honest with you guys, but I did watch her TED talk. And this specific quote that she referenced from Theodore Roosevelt really stood out to me. And I wanted to share it with you as a way for us to start this video. I'm going to read it right now off of my screen. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. So this is a beautiful quote from Theodore Roosevelt that came to my attention from Brené Brown. And ultimately what it really describes is that the people who are not in the arena, right? The critics, right? The people who point out how the strong man stumbles, right? A lot of times what we call, quote unquote, the haters. These are the people on the sidelines. These are the people that are so judgmental because they don't have the courage to step into the arena. They don't have the courage to be there on the stadium, putting themselves out there day in, day out to build a business, to make a difference, to build a better future for themselves, for their families, for making a difference in the world. And so let's talk about failure for a little bit. And there's a few lessons that I want to share with you about failure. Now, there's another saying by the founder of Tesla, who is Elon Musk, that I really appreciate as well about failure that I wanted to share with you guys. And he says that every time that I win or I succeed, I celebrate. And every time that I fail, I learn. And so we must really approach it from this mindset. We must understand that number one, we are in the arena. We have had the courage to put ourselves out there, to build something out of nothing, and to really craft a future for ourselves, having nothing but faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and a mission and vision that we want to bring to reality. And of course, through that journey, no matter what, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place in front of us challenges, will place in front of us obstacles, but we have to have faith. And we have to have that tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that every single obstacle and challenge we face in our businesses, in our lives, has been placed to teach us a lesson. It's been placed there for us to discover a deeper part of ourselves, maybe a skill that we lack, a character trait that we need to work on, maybe a particular part of our business that we need to optimize before we get to the next level. Because if we don't optimize that part of our business and we try to scale the business, things are going to break and it's just not going to work. And I can really assure you that every time that I look back at my journey in business as an entrepreneur, I look at all the ups and downs, the roller coaster, the left turns, the right turns, and the U-turns. All of it makes sense looking backwards. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change any mistake, any obstacle, any quote unquote failure. Because every time I've been faced with a challenge, it's taught me something about myself or allowed me to get better at a certain skill to reach the next level. And that would have never happened if it was not for going through what in the moment we might experience and call failures. But ultimately, when we zoom out, we have to realize these are lessons from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are trials and tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where God is trying to show us something. He's trying to reveal to us something about ourselves that we need to work on, that we need to know. And that ultimately, there is no such thing as failure. There is only learning. There is only learning. When you win, you celebrate. But when you fail, you learn. Which one is better? Do you prefer celebrating all the time, or do you prefer learning? Do you prefer growing as a person? And again, from the quote that I just read to you from Theodore Roosevelt, which I absolutely love, and there is no effort without error and shortcoming, right? There's no effort without error and shortcoming. That's it. And I would rather spend my entire life working towards a goal and not having reached it, instead of spending my life in a cubicle wondering what if. What if I went for that business? What if I did make that jump into entrepreneurship? What if I did pursue this dream that I had of really building a business? Because ultimately fear and the fear of failure is tied to our self-image. And this is a very tricky thing, because if your self-image and your self-worth is tied to the fact that, I don't fail, I'm someone who generally succeeds at everything, and I'm afraid of failure. And even though you might not say it, but you know within you that you feel it, you're afraid of pursuing something because you might fail and it might not work out. Well, what does that say about you? What does that say about your courage, about your tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What does it say about your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And what if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed within you this desire, within your heart, because He knows that this is something you're capable of, and He knows that this is something that you're destined to do, and you're not responding to this calling because you're afraid. You're afraid of putting yourself out there. You're afraid of taking that initial step. And ultimately, it is only those that move forward by daring greatly that go on to change the world. Do you want to be someone who makes an impact and leaves behind a legacy of goodness that will benefit them in the akhirah? Or do you want to be someone who goes through life constantly wondering, what if? I know I'd rather be the first, and even if I might not have made an impact, I would rather be placed in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and really put in a position where, when asked, what did I do with the time that I had? Telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I spent that time in conscious and good endeavor, working towards building something that will have a positive impact. And even though I might not have reached it, I really gave it my all, and I tried. I tried to make a difference. And ultimately, it is through that journey that you should get your satisfaction. It is not by achieving a certain milestone. It is not by getting to a certain income level. It is through the journey of trial and error and constant failure and learning lessons. That is the journey that brings fulfillment. The journey of constant self-growth, of constant self-analyzing, and not the journey of celebrations and winning all the time. And there's no such thing as a journey like that. And so the way I want you to approach failure is really approach it as a learning lesson. Approach it as really an indicator that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to learn something right now. He wants you to either learn a skill or develop a character trait. And that might be patience. That might be perseverance. But ultimately, every single thing we go through is destined to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we must have that reliance and tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and understand that we must pursue everything that we feel like we want to pursue without the fear of failure, but rather with a tawakkul and a trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that whatever happens will be His decree. And ultimately, it is only those who go out there into the arena, who battle, who, from this quote here, essentially, their face are marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strive valiantly. Those are the ones who make a difference. And with that, guys, I will leave you. I hope this video was beneficial. It's a little bit of a different video than what I usually release, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to like and subscribe beneath this video. Let me know what you thought, and I will connect with you and reply to each one of your comments and make sure of it. And until then, I will see you next time, guys. Take care. Assalamu'alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.